Welcome to Between Two Pastries, a not-so-typical nutrition podcast. Nicole and Annie are licensed and registered dietitians. Join them as they discuss hot nutrition topics, challenge popular beliefs, and have a blast doing it. Here are your hosts, Nicole and Annie.
Welcome to Between Two Pastries, everybody. I'm not even introducing myself this time.
I was like, I'm Nicole. Say it. I was like, wait, I'm like, I can't say anything until you say that. Weird.
So
we should
weird.
maybe try to change it. I
We
feel
really
like
could.
people.
We could. So I'll just
save
say,
it.
this is Nicole.
Hey, it's Annie. Yeah. Well, I didn't know if I was supposed to.
That's all right. It's all right. It's cool. It's cool. Yeah. Topic today is on cravings.
Like food cravings.
Like food. Yeah, definitely.
Drug craving.
Any kind of craving, I think. And I just want to start this off by saying, typically when people come to me and they talk about like cravings, they act like it's the most horrible thing in the world, that something is wrong with them, that they shouldn't be desiring something. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So I just want to kind of start that off right there, that a craving in general can be for lots of reasons. It can be mostly, first and foremost, a craving can sometimes be simply just an imbalance. There's an imbalance somewhere. Again, it's not that it's bad, but if you're having a craving, there's legit imbalance somewhere.
When you say imbalance, Nicole, and just to clarify this for everyone, are you meaning like that old-timey myth that like if you're craving milk, you must be low in calcium?
Well, I think it goes hand in hand, because typically if there's a craving, there's generally a lack of something. And I'm not isolating a nutrient when I say that. There's a lack of something in your diet. And that could be variety, but there's typically a lack of. And for people who have tendencies of eating the same things every day, or if they're really restrictive with what they eat, they're going to be lacking things. Things in general are just going to be lacking. So again, there's an imbalance somewhere, and the imbalance can also not just be a variety, but imbalance in satisfaction of what we're eating. See, people don't allow themselves to actually see that, to actually admit that maybe they aren't fully satisfied with what they're eating, but they're eating because of they should eat this way, or it's easy, or I don't have to think about it. But what we find is that the body, again, never lies. And so the body is always going to show up in some way to say, hey, we got to relook at things.
Right. I also would like to throw in there some socioeconomic stuff can also play a role in there. Access to food, money, stuff like that. Like my population sometimes can fall in that college age range. So sometimes variety or, to be able to
isn't accessible.
Do that is hard, right?
Yeah.
But what I will say is stuff I've done with that age population or college age is we've gotten creative with what they have on hand, right?
Yes.
Like you can do a lot with rice or couscous or noodles and do it in different ways than just the 3 ways you were taught as a kid, right? Like you can get real creative, typically with your grain,
right?
And to be able to play with that to then incorporate other things into it or different flavors or whatever. But variety, I think as you get older and you perhaps are busier or stressed out or whatever, it becomes harder, right? Like it just becomes harder. You have a set grocery list. You don't really find new recipes sometimes, or maybe you stick to the same few and go back to the same cookbook, or, find shortcuts to,
totally.
Instead of making your own pie crust, you buy it, which again, there's nothing wrong with that.
No,
but
not at all.
You find different things that you do. But what I've noticed lately is when people are struggling with that variety, a lot of people are going to the meal service, like delivery.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
To try to spark some of that variety.
Mm-hmm.
But then you talk about cravings and stuff, and that's where you can sometimes see some of that, right? Where it's like, "Ooh, I haven't had this in so long. This is so good. I crave it. I want it," from that lack of variety. But
well, like you said too, the whole concept of I haven't had something in so long. And we've talked about that too, where it's kind of like the whole holiday thing where, why are we just limiting that to twice a year? Will we eat a particular something? And then our brain goes bananas over it. Like, why are we not incorporating that?
Right. Well, and to clarify again, when we talk about cravings, that's not an addiction.
Correct. That's the whole thing.
That's
so
different.
Case in point, had another client and they were talking about how if there's a bag of gummies around, that bag has got to go. I can't live in the same room with the bag.
Throw it away or eat it?
It has to be eaten.
Eaten. Okay. Yep.
Like a sin to throw it away. It has to be eaten. It has to be eaten. I can't just, and I'm like, so we talked about that. And this was like a thing that was happening even as a kid. But here's the thing, when you're not engaging in those things, when those things hold that power that they mean something else, we've talked about this before, then all of a sudden, that becomes the thing. So I started working with this person and about like, let's start incorporating this stuff literally every single day.
Yep.
Either pick a time when you do it, or you do it 3 times a day. It doesn't actually matter. It's the whole point of doing that. It's kind of getting off topic, but the point is that food item becomes a craving.
Right.
It can become that like, oh, I desperately want to experience something. So that is also my point, is we shouldn't desperately want to do anything. We should be able to just do those things.
Yeah, we can just do them. But, the other component here with all of that is they get to a point of desperation of wanting to taste or feel something, and they won't allow themselves to have the gummy bears or whatever it is, because of a different belief or a rule, their eating disorder or something that tells them I can't.
That's right.
Have this because it has sugar, it has calories, whatever.
Right.
There's a reason I can't keep it in the house. The problem is not, hasn't started because of this notion that I can't keep it in the house because I'll eat it all. The problem started long ago when you stopped eating that food.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's when the whole problem started, and you created this monster that now exists between you and this food and cravings and the whole shebang.
Well, I think what I want to get back to with that whole thing is that it seems as if there is a struggle with allowing satisfaction and pleasure in what we're eating.
Oh no, you can't feel satisfied. You can't enjoy something,
right?
Unless it's stale.
And that's the thing. It's like, it's another thing that I'm saying. Like, I don't think people allow themselves the space and time to experience that pleasure, or
without like the caveat of, oh, this cupcake is so good, but I got to go work out, or this cupcake is so good, but I can't have one now, for another week, or you know what I mean? Where there's always this like punishment to the enjoyment.
Right.
And they're a lesser person because they have a craving for a cupcake.
Right. The other thing with cravings too is we will in turn, and when we're going back to that imbalance piece, like, people will crave sweets often when they're just not taking in enough carbohydrate in general.
Right. Yeah.
Period. I mean, that's going to be one of the first things that you're going to crave in general. Okay. Either there's not enough carbohydrate coming in or not enough protein coming into. That's also another thing. So an imbalance can kind of come in with that as well. And that again is where that relationship then can get out of hand, right? Because then the craving becomes a drop in brain, like a brain chemical that will turn into a ravishing thing. And oftentimes, I know we can experience this a lot more for women during our menstrual cycle.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. So what, how do cravings play is that a myth that depending on where you're at in your menstrual cycle, cravings occur?
Yeah. Definitely not a myth. I mean, we have different drops in our bloodstream of certain nutrients. Certain nutrients are used up extremely rapidly, usually starting the week before, and then during. And so if we're not altering how we're supporting ourselves, that week before, the week of, and then the week after, we are bound to experience, some.
Well, but we're, like you mentioned earlier, even with our menstrual cycles, we're not supposed to react. We're not supposed to experience it. We're not supposed to feel it. We're not supposed to, you know what I mean? Like,
or just even acknowledge that that's there.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Right.
But that's
right.
a thing that maybe we actually it would be helpful to pay attention to.
Yeah. It would be helpful to pay attention to. It would be helpful to like be connected with your body a little bit more and acknowledge the fact that, hey, this hurts. I don't need to do anything today. I don't,
Yes.
or I need to, increase my iron now. Like, right. Why don't we do that regularly? But, but like, there's things about it that it's a very voodoo thing, in terms of people wanting to talk about that stuff, or even outside of, oh, I'm so fat and I ate all the sugar and I'm getting my period. Like that's the messaging around it. Like that's what people want to talk about when they, I'm a period, so I'm eating everything. And it's like, I just don't think that that's how that works. Like
it doesn't. I mean, sometimes we're eating all the things because we haven't been eating all the things,
right. It's like
this happened. Like we're already depleted, going into a depleted state. And what I mean by depleted is not necessarily energy, but by quality of nutrients. You know what I'm saying? Yes, exactly. The other piece to what you were saying too, in regards to acknowledging that time in particular, or just a craving in general, is like, it's a sign of like weakness, right?
Oh God. Yeah.
If I can't, control this, of course, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
right.
We always have to control our body. I don't know why that's always the case. But yeah.
I don't understand that either, but you're absolutely right. It's a sign of weakness. And if you give in to that craving, you're not disciplined.
That's right. And then that's the whole thing though. Then somebody's just like, fine, I'm going to do this. But then there is now an emotion attached to that. Now there's a feeling about it. Like now there's an, I did something wrong kind of thing about it too.
And I'm a bad person. And then self-hatred comes in.
Right. And all of the things. So when there's a craving, there's a legit reason for that. And we are to definitely pay attention to it.
So
and that there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong.
No.
Yeah.
No, not at all. But it's good to understand why we have the cravings that we have, right? It's good to be aware of that. So if someone is pregnant and they have cravings, oftentimes, I mean, you'll see doctors' offices, whatever, like the packet they send home about, how to eat or whatever. And it'll say right in there, like, yeah, you'll have cravings, but make sure, you focus on eating lean protein and whole grains and fruits and veggies.
That's such an excellent point.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an excellent point. It's not actually addressing that the cravings are coming, not because your hormones are wacky. I think that's also another piece that people need to kind of understand. It's not because the hormone is wacky. It's because there's an increased need for certain things. There's an imbalance before that even happens.
Right.
And it's exacerbated at that point because there's such a higher need for certain things that are not coming in.
So should pregnant women listen to their craving? Because the messaging is very much so, you don't need to, you'll gain too much weight. I mean, again, this stuff
that's just based off of fear. Like that's not even based off of anything that's real. Yeah.
Right. But that's where, a lot of women are nervous to listen to the, what if I crave this or that, or, like they're nervous in their first trimester and they're nervous about craving.
It's literally this fear of enjoying something.
Correct. Yeah.
For as much as sensing something pleasurable cannot do it.
Right. But as a society, we are supposed to experience all of the pleasures unless it's related to ourselves. We're supposed to create all the pleasures for our kids and our families and spouse, all of the things. But for us ourselves to actually have that experience, then you're selfish.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like it's amazing the messaging.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess if you're going there, the messaging about, that women need to be controlled. That's what I'm hearing you say.
Right? Maybe I'm saying that.
I mean, we don't have to go there. I'm
Let's
just saying,
like, that is what I'm saying. And
but as women, though, I feel like there's like that subliminal message, though, that we should be contained. We should be all of these things. So we shouldn't have any needs. We shouldn't actually have any wants or desires, because
or feelings or experiences or hormone shifts or cravings
or anything, because
you can get that.
Yes, because our lives are supposed to be complete service to others and what others
women
want.
Don't fart, they don't poop, they don't do any of this stuff. And I say that tongue in cheek, but like truly, like that's the messaging out there. And certainly it's getting better, but I mean, and not to minimize men either, because men have cravings and men feel self-hatred and they feel like they can't come forward with this stuff either. Sure. Especially as it relates to your gym rats, right? Like the guys who are buff and beefy and all the things and supposed to be a steak, and they don't want a steak. They want to eat a cupcake with pink swirls on it. You know what I mean? Like they can't because it doesn't fit their persona, right? Like, right. Or even for, your exercise gym rat guy, eating fruits and veggies can be a little bit like I don't need those. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
And that'll probably lead into another pod that we do on like the greens and the reds with the powders.
Exactly.
Because that's how a lot of those guys will get there.
Because it's the only way. Yeah.
So men, I understand that men feel all of this as well and go through all of this. But I think in terms of when we talk about cravings, women are a bit more upfront about that stuff.
Most definitely. But it's just the feeling that comes with it. It's this feeling of like, why is this happening? This shouldn't be happening. This is such a horrible thing. What do I do to control it? That's what I'm kind of getting at, where it's like, oh my gosh, can we just acknowledge that these are normal? And again, sometimes it can just simply be a red flag to start noticing something, just start noticing something. Do we have enough variety? Are we getting tired of what we're currently doing? Have we been eating enough, really?
Right. Am I recovering?
Right. Especially when it comes down to, women athletes in general, all of those things where basically there's some imbalance. And that's just the point that I want to make. And that it's okay, but to definitely consult with someone who gets it.
No, 100%. But remember, when you consult with someone, it shouldn't be someone who's telling you like, oh yeah, great, you shouldn't be eating that. You know what I mean?
Well, of course. Yeah.
Don't let people reinforce self-hatred.
Yeah.
Right? Like, the fact that you want to eat a cupcake or peanut butter or whatever food that you are enjoying and find pleasure with or craving.
Right.
You don't let people tell you that, like, it's not weak. It's not, it doesn't involve discipline to eat or not eat something.
Correct.
Those things don't go together. And it's getting more and more frustrating that more and more people are doing that. Okay. That's the best message I feel like we can offer.
Yes. Oh, goodness. And on that note, everybody, peace out, y'all.
Have questions you want to hear discussed on the show? Find us on Facebook or visit betweentwopastries.com and drop us a line. Want to support the show? Find us on Patreon for exclusive content. If you love the show, find us on iTunes or your favorite podcast platform. Hit the subscribe button and leave us a review.